YouTube, Dailymotion, Facebook, and Tumblr fans. How's it going, everyone? My name is Midnight Strike 3625, coming at you with another review, this time of a game that I actually reviewed a couple months ago, back in 2013 of June of 2013, The Last of Us. Now, today we're going to be focusing on a story-driven DLC entitled Left Behind that actually enables you to play as Ellie throughout the entire experience that actually it takes place after the events in the university transpired and Joel gets injured. I am not going to say anything more on that because it is spoilers. You'll have to figure it out for yourself. But basically, Ellie is left on her own. She has to run from these infected, fight her way through to find a first aid kit or some sort of medical supplies in order to heal Joel up while she's away. So basically she hides out in a shopping mall and is looking and ravaging through everything she can find to find the supplies necessary to heal her friend. So basically throughout this entire thing you get a glimpse into what Ellie was like before all these events transpired, before the smuggling actually took place with Joel and Tess trying to smuggle Ellie to the Fireflies. So it gives you a little bit of backstory with The Last of Us's main gameplay, and actually takes place in between the fall or summer, whatever it is, and winter segments, right before the winter segment, although it is winter in here, so I digress. So basically it tells the story through multiple flashbacks of how Ellie actually got infected. 3 weeks prior, she actually talks about this. She was in the mall, one of the runners bit her, and a friend came along. Her friend Riley Abel, who she mentions in the ending of The Last of Us. No more spoilers, basically. She had a friend named Riley. It even says when you select Left Behind from the main menu, because yes, it is a separate entity. There's The Last of Us, and then there's Left Behind. So it's practically a game on its own, or at least a mini-game. So it says, warning, you should probably complete the main game first, basically. You know, it actually does have a fair bit of spoilers. So I'm not really going to go into the plot, per se, in depth, as I normally would in a review, as this is a very short DLC. But basically, it shows a more innocent side of Ellie, so to speak, and she's going through the mall with her friend and just kind of exploring it. They actually find a way to turn all the power back on, so there's a lot of things to be interacted with in true The Last of Us fashion, and like I said, in true The Last of Us fashion, there is a huge amount of immersion, huge attention to detail, and not much has changed with the gameplay mechanics. So you actually have the option to turn off the tutorial on how to do most of the gameplay mechanics, which, I mean, it shouldn't really have had any of those things in there to begin with, so because you've already beaten the main game, or at least you probably should have if you're playing this. So to begin, a lot of reviewers I've seen that are reviewing this DLC have been complaining about the lack of new gameplay mechanics being implemented, but it's a part of the game. It's a part of the first Last of Us, so why should there be? I mean, going into this, I wasn't exactly expecting there to be this huge amount of improvement or huge difference between The Last of Us, because if there would have been, it would have felt like a completely different game. I'm actually glad they kept it the same for the most part. I mean, it shouldn't have been any different. The only differences I can really see are sometimes when you're trying to open a door or a garage by, lifting up. In the main game, The Last of Us, it would actually have you mash triangle. Now, all you do is hold triangle. I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's a lot less repetitive. So this game, this Left Behind DLC, actually gives you a lot of insight on some of Ellie's conversations that she has with Joel, especially in the arcade. She will actually go up and talk about Angel Knives, a person from a fighting game that is fighting against, I forget whatever the other villain's name is, but it gives a lot of insight to what innocence Ellie had in her youth and how badly she actually wanted to play a video game. So there is a twist, not going to say what it is. It's one of those twists where it's not really too big of a deal at first, but it really catches you off guard and surprises you. I mean, there are a lot of twists in the main game that, don't get me wrong, are huge, huge plot revelations and will take you and catch you off guard. But this one, while it is significant for Ellie's character, and the development and progression of the girl she actually will become at the end of The Last of Us, it will only kind of catch you off guard for a few seconds, and then you'll just be like, oh, well, okay, and then try to make justifications for it. So it kind of gives you an insight as to how Ellie got infected, but then again, my only gripe with it is a lot of it just seems a bit forced, and, a lot of it just, you already knew it. You already knew that story. If you play it, it really doesn't have a place, because it takes place in the middle of The Last of Us. So if you play the main game first, which it says you should, you aren't getting anything really that valuable out of it, because it's just stories you've already know how it happened, or you just don't care because it's just filling in details. So it's just, the devil's in the details, I suppose. So it's just one of those things where it kind of tells the story like Assassin's Creed Revelations tells the story that doesn't need to be told. That being said, however, it is a very fun, immersive gameplay experience. Of course, I gave The Last of Us, the original Last of Us, a perfect 10 out of 10. While this actually has a lot of detail and a lot of subplots, just like the main game, some of the plot revelations just seem a bit forced, and there are a lot of things in here that could have been refined or tweaked. Fuck. No, not that word. Tweaked. So there's no R in tweak. But a lot of those things could have been tweaked, and I don't know. It's just one of those things where the devil's in the details. There's really no place. If you play this before you play The Last of Us, if you play The Last of Us Left Behind before you play The Last of Us, moreover, you will be spoiling part of the plot. So there's really no place to play it, I guess. I mean, stop halfway through the game and then play it? I mean, you're not going to know to do that. I mean, I wish they would have probably just implemented it into the main game, but then the plot wouldn't necessarily flow as nicely. So that's one of my major gripes with it, but then again, there are a lot of great things about it. I would probably rate it, 9.8 out of 10, because it was really, really, really fun, almost as good as the main game, but for $15, I was expecting a little bit more bang for my buck, especially when it was released on February 14th. On a closing note, however, there is a scene that really was really awesome in this game, and that was when Ellie is in the shopping mall looking for supplies for Joel, as I said before, and it's not a flashback, but she's running from stalkers and infected, and when something happens, she shoots something down or something falls, and it breaks a cord open, and it starts electrocuting the water. Now, just for shits and giggles, just sheer shits and giggles, I decide to go into the water to see what would happen. The shocking, literally, the electrifying death animation for Ellie was just priceless. I mean, I don't know why I got so much enjoyment out of going into the water. I mean, I feel like I'm playing Metal Gear Solid 2 again and going onto the electrified floor. I don't know why it's so much fun, but I just kept doing it over and over again. So, anyways, 9.8 out of 10, guys. If you're a big fan of The Last of Us like I am, it is definitely worth it. Check it out. 10 out of 10 game for The Last of Us, but a 9.8 out of 10 DLC bonus. So what could possibly be wrong with that? So, this is Midnight Strike 3625. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the game. Keep calm and rock on.